Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. I'm Courtney, owner and designer of Wreath in Hand. We're gonna get started making our wreath by cutting our 10.5 inch by 10-yard mesh. This is a thin stripe fabric mesh, and we're going to be using our self-healing cutting mat as well as our rotary cutter, and we're going to be cutting 12 pieces at 20 inches. And I'm just going to clean up the edge a little bit just to straighten her out. And we're going to cut 12 pieces at 20 inches. Next, we're going to be cutting our ribbon tails. These are the 2 ribbons I'm using. I'm going to be cutting 12 pieces at 13 inches. Now that our ribbon tails are cut, we can go ahead and move on to prepping our wreath frame. This is a 14-inch frame that we're going to be using today, and we're going to be wiring it up with some Chanel. To wire the frame for this style of wreath, because we're making a pancake style wreath, which means it's a thin wreath that can fit between a storm door, but they're also good for craft shows because you can sell them for a more affordable price, which is what I am prepping for. I'm getting ready for a craft show on April 6th. This is April 6th, 2025. So this video, I think, will be up. It depends. I have a bunch of videos ready to be posted, but all I did to wire this is on all 6 of the cross frames on the top 2 rows, I added a Chanel stem, and then I kind of go from this corner to that corner, so you kind of diagonal it, and then in between the top 2, you're gonna go in between in the middle. And I like to attach it on the uppermost ring. I just think it holds better. So if your wires are loose, try doing that. I finished adding the ribbon onto the bottom layer, and this ribbon is so pretty. This green, I believe it's a kiwi color. It's really pretty. I was worried that like the red and green, it would give Christmas, but I think it's a very bright, well, I guess kind of bright, I don't know, but it doesn't, to me, it doesn't say Christmas. But I like Christmas, so you know what, that's okay. Either way. Any hoosers. We're going to move on to the top layer. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to ruffle our mesh. What have you guys been up to? What movies have you watched? Are you reading any books? Are you on spring break? What's going on? My daughter is not on spring break right now. She doesn't go on spring break till April, which is fine. And okay, so now that we got our ruffle, the same thing, we're going to place it on top. We're not going to untwist it from the frame. And then we're going to give it a couple twists and then fold over, overlap them. The weather here has been really weird. I'm in SoCal, basically the desert where I live, and it was raining, pouring, like hailing just a couple, I think 2 weeks ago or something, and then it got really cold, and then it got really hot just a couple days ago, and now it's windy and it feels a little chillier. Like it was 80 degrees yesterday, and then today I'm wearing a sweater. What's going on here? Once you've added all the mesh onto the top layer, you can add your ribbon in, and it's the same thing as on the bottom. You're just going to layer them on top of each other, pinch it in the middle, fold it over just like that, and again untwist it from the mesh and place it on top. Push down a little to get it tightened down. Give it quite a few twists. Snip off the nub and then push it to the back. And then you're going to fold fold them out to open them up. And then that's what it looks like with all the ribbon. And honestly, if you just wanted to add the sign, you could totally do that. That looks really cute, just like that. But I want to add a bow. So that's what I'm going to add the sign. Actually, before I make the bow, it already has holes in it. So I'm just going to use some floral wire to attach it down into the frame, and then we'll make our bow. We're going to get started making our bow. I'm starting off with a 2.5 inch ribbon, and I'm going to be making a 8-inch tail. I'm just going to pinch it, put it into the bow maker, and then twist it on the opposite side of the tail. And for a loop size, I think I'm going to do a 5.5. Yes, I'm going to do a 5.5 inch loop on each side. So I'm going to measure out to 5.5. And then put it in the bow maker and then twist the other side. Again, measure out to 5.5. And then I'm going to cut my tail. I'm going to just eyeball it from the other side. Next, we're using a 1.5 inch ribbon, and I'm going to measure out the same tail length. And for this one, I'm going to go down 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go down to 5 inches. Again, I'm just going to make my loop, and then when it's on the other side, I'm going to pinch it. If you would like to see more tutorials, check out all my other videos on my channel. Next, we're adding our Ladybug ribbon, and this ribbon is not directional. The Ladybugs go all kinds of ways, so you can just put it in however. I'm going to make the same tail length, and I'm going to go down 1/2 inch. So our first one was 5.5 and then 5, so now we're at 4.5. And again, when it's on the other side, just give it a good twist. And if you need help making bows, I recommend getting a bow maker. Making bows by hand can be kind of challenging, especially if you're working with multiple ribbons. The next ribbon is a Fair Silk ribbon. It's a 1 inch, and yeah, I know Fair Silk is not an affordable ribbon, but this was the only size, this was the size I needed, so that's what I'm going to use, and I'm just using a little bit, so it's fine. I'm going to measure out the same length, and I'm going to go down to 4 inches. And make sure you give it a good twist. Fair Silk ribbon is very thick. The wire in it is sheet thick. And for these ribbons, I like to just roll up the bottom a couple times. When you do have these ribbons, because they're so thick, they will weigh down your other ribbons. So just keep that in mind when you're using that, if you do that. To get it off the bow maker, you're going to push down and then grab it from underneath, slip it off. Okay, and try not to let your ribbons move around. You're going to take a zip tie and you're going to feed it to the back. And before you tighten it all the way down, slip your chenille stem in the back. That way you have something to attach it to the wreath. I like using the zip tie because it holds all the ribbon together, and I feel like you can really, like, you know, manhandle the ribbon, I guess. So that's why I like the zip tie. I don't have to worry about it coming coming loose or separating. And now we can attach it into the wreath. I have these really cute butterfly embellishments. They're, I believe, a wood. It looks and feels like a wood material, but on the back, they're felted. So I have 5 of them. I'm going to put one here, 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 and then right here. I'm going to put one right in the middle. For these ones, I'm going to cut off like a little bit from the wire so I can glue it down. And I think it might be cute to kind of have it like not fully flat down, just give it a tiny little bit of lift. I don't want to do too much because, again, it's for a storm door and I don't want them to get smushed. And then for this one, I think no, I might actually use a little bit of wire so I can seep it down into the back. Here is the wreath all finished. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos or learn more about wreath making, please give me a follow, share this video, and like it. I would really appreciate it. It helps me out so much. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. I really like the pop of yellow in the bow. I think maybe on the tails, I probably could have done yellow also. I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of green, but I like the green too. But I think the yellow probably would have popped more. Let me know. What do you think? The green or the yellow? I mean, it's already done. I'm not going to change it, but yeah, I think it's really cute. I think the little ladybugs really bring it to life. And if you wanted to add more, you could certainly add like these little flowers into it, but I'm not going to do that. It's super thin. So perfect. Butterfly wreath. We're going to get started by prepping our sign so that it's nice and dry and ready when we want to use it. I'm going to go ahead and attach one chenille stem at the bottom and one at the top. And then we're going to add some hot glue. You want to make sure your wreath sign is thick enough and your staples are also small enough, or else you'll poke through your sign. And then we'll go ahead and add some hot glue. While our sign is drying, we can get our mesh ready. Today I'm using a Deco poly mesh, and I'm going to be using my self-healing cutting mat and my rotary cutter. And I'm going to be cutting 12 pieces at 20 inches. If you need any of the supplies, I have it all linked down below for you. For my ribbon tails, I'm going to be using this 2-inch ribbon, and I'm going to cut 12 pieces at 13 inches. And I'm also going to be using this 1.5-inch ribbon. I'm also going to be cutting 12 pieces at 13 inches. I'm using a 14-inch and I'm adding 12 Chanel stems or pipe cleaners. I'm adding 6 on top of these, on these cross frames right here. There's 6 of them. You can see I turned all the top ones inward. And then for the bottom 2 rows, I'm doing 6 also in between them. So for the top cross frame, I'm just gonna go between it. And then I like to tighten it on the uppermost part of the ring. If you can see that, it's attached right through the cross frame. And then we're gonna add one right here in the middle. And I like to do the same thing. I like to attach it on the uppermost part. I think it holds better. And that's what your frame should look like. We're going to be adding our mesh into the frame. I'm going to be doing a ruffle. So I'm just going to bring the mesh towards me, scrunching your fingers. And it's okay if you veer off a little bit. You're not on the road. Nobody's going to be throwing rocks at you. I'm going to go ahead and start on the bottom part. You have to, for this particular type of wreath, because we're making a pancake style wreath, you have to start on the bottom or else it will not come out right. And then you got to do it again. Just kidding. So then you're going to overlap your mesh so it looks like a flower. And then kind of turn down for what. And that's what it should look like. We're going to go ahead and add only the bottom mesh first, and then we will add our ribbon on top. Once you're done adding all the mesh to the bottom layer of the wreath, you're going to add your ribbon tails. So all I'm doing is I'm putting the 1.5 inch ribbon on top of the 2 inch ribbon. I'm folding it in half to find the center point, and I'm going to pinch it together and fold it over. And then I'm going to untwist it, place it right on top of the mesh, and then I'm going to give it a really good squeeze and tighten it down. And then I'm going to clip off the rest of the Chanel stem and then tuck it towards the back. And then I'm going to spread them. And you'll do that for the whole bottom layer. So that's what it should look like. Now that we have that done, we can move on to the top layer. It's the same thing for the top layer. We're going to ruffle our mesh as loudly as you can. This mesh is really thick. It kind of feels plasticky, but it's really thick. She's thick. And I'm not gonna untwist it from the frame. I'm just gonna place it right on top. And again, I'm just gonna give it 1 or 2 twists, just enough to hold it until we put the ribbon down. I'm gonna overlap it and turning down the edges so it flattens out. And then once you're done adding all the mesh on the top layer, you can go ahead and add your ribbon tails as well. So it's the same thing. I'm just going to put it all together. You can actually do bundles, like you can do this all together at the same time if you want, but this, like my hands cramp up, they lock up, so it's kind of hard for me to do that, but you can certainly do that. And then that's what it should look like. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of them. it looks like with all the ribbon on. I'm going to go ahead and attach the sign. I did figure out where I want to put it because I am going to put a bow down here, so I kind of want to make sure that it's symmetrical. So we're going to use our chenille stems to go down through the mesh and attach it to the frame. We're going to start making our bow now. I'm going to start with this 2-inch ribbon, and I forgot it's a directional ribbon. So I'm actually going to put my tails in first for this side. I'm just going to pinch a little bit and then leave a little nub over there so it has something to hold on to. And then I'm going to come to the other side and do the same thing, just leave a little nub there. And then I'm going to twist it. And I'm going to do a 5-inch loop, one on each side. So this is what the bow is looking like. The 2-inch ribbon is 5.5. The 1.5-inch ribbon is 5 inches. This other 1.5-inch ribbon is at 4 inches. And they're all at an 8-inch tail. The last ribbon we're adding is this green 1-inch ribbon, and we're going to be doing a 8-inch tail and a 3.5-inch loop, one on each side. I added our bow. I ended up wiring in the butterflies that I have. I think it's in there pretty good. I put it with a zip tie, but I still might add a little dab of glue. And I have 2 more butterfly embellishments. So I have one here. So I think I'm going to put one over here and then one up here. I'm not going to glue them like flat down. I want them to have like some lift to them. And then I have these. I thought they kind of mimicked, they look like the ferns. I only have a couple. Like these ones are the same, but then I have these ones, they're different. That's all I have. But I really want to cover up some of the chenille stems that you can kind of see peeking through. Let's see. So maybe I'll put one here because I want it to look balanced. I want it to look all lopsided. And then this one's really big. I don't know. I'm gonna play with it, or maybe I'll try to look for another one, or maybe I can just put one of these here. I'm gonna cut this one. It's just too big. I'm gonna put this one here. And then, I mean, this one's different, but whatever. It's fine. Well, maybe, I don't know, actually. Here is the wreath all finished. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. If you could please like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe. I have lots of tutorials on my channel. Here it is. Today we're making a bee wreath, and we're going to start by cutting our fabric stripe mesh. I'm going to use my rotary cutter and my self-healing mat, and I'm going to cut off just a little bit on the edge just to clean it up. And then we're going to cut 12 pieces at 20 inches. So I'm just going to roll it out to 20 inches. And we'll cut 11 more. Once you have all your mesh cut, we're going to cut our ribbon tails. I'm using a black 2.5 inch, and I'm using this bee plaid print. It's got some daisies on it, and this is a 1.5, and I'm going to be cutting 12 pieces at 13 inches, so you'll have a total of 24 pieces. Once you're done cutting all of your ribbon tails, we're going to wire up our wreath frame. I'm using a 14-inch frame, and the style wreath I'm making today is a pancake style wreath. It's a thin wreath that is intended for a storm door, but they're also great for craft shows because they are more affordable. So if you know, there's a couple options for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach a chenille stem on each of these cross frames. And then in between the cross frames on the bottom two, I'm going to add a chenille stem there as well. When you're done wiring your frame, this is what it should look like. We're going to add our mesh in next. I'm going to do ruffles, but I'm just going to fold in the edge just a tiny bit. This mesh is really soft, and I'm just going to scrunch my fingers up towards me, and I'm just going to keep that other side folded down a little bit. And if it's not straight on both sides, you can just gently pull on it to even it out. You can do that on the frame as well. I'm going to put it right on top of the chenille stem, and I'm not going to tighten it all the way down just because we're going to add the ribbon after. And I'm going to overlap the mesh, one side on top of the other. So it kind of makes a flower. I guess you don't have to fold down the edges when ruffling it. It just kind of comes undone anyways. So that's what it should look like. I'm going to go ahead and add the rest onto there, and then we'll add the ribbon. Actually, I'll just show you how to do the ribbon right now. You're just going to put, once you're done adding the mesh, you're just going to layer your ribbon tails on top. You can do it in this order also. All that matters is that you do the bottom layer first. So once you put your ribbon tails in, give it a really good squeeze and twist it. And then you're going to want to snip off the chenille stem and then fold back the remaining nub. And then I like how it looks with the two ribbons layered on top, so that's how I'm going to leave it. And that's what it should look like. You're going to do that for the entire bottom row, and then we'll do the same thing on the top. Once you have all your ribbon tails on, you're going to figure out where you want to place your sign. So the sign already came with this one at the top, but I wanted a point of contact at the bottom. So I guess I could have just put one, but yeah, I put two. So I'm just using some chenille stems, and I'm going to feed it through down and tie it around the frame. Here is what it looks like with the sign added. It looks really cute. Just like that. You could totally leave it like that and then add some embellishments if you want, but really cute just like that. I do want to add a bow to it. These are the ribbons I'm using: a 2.5 black, a 1.5 the bee ribbon that we used already, and then I'm incorporating this lace edged black and white gingham, and then I'm also adding this 7/8 inch velvet ribbon. So we're going to start with the black one first, the 2.5. Here's what the bow is looking like. The 2.5-inch ribbon is a 5.5-inch loop, one on each side, and it's an 8-inch tail. The B ribbon is an 8-inch tail, and then I just did a 5-inch loop on each side. Next, we're going to use the other 1.5-inch ribbon. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make an 8-inch tail, and then for this one, I'm going to make a 4.5-inch loop. Here is what the bow looks like. The white velvet ribbon, I did a 3.5-inch loop, one on each side, and I'm also going to be dovetailing my ribbon tail. So you just fold it over and then you cut up towards like the open side, so it makes the V cut. And then you'll use a Chanel stem and a zip tie. You're just gonna, to get it off the board, you're just gonna slip your fingers under, and then make sure you hold it tight. You don't want your ribbons to slip. And you're gonna feed through the zip tie on the back. And before you tighten it all the way down, you want to slip the Chanel stem through it. That way you have something to attach it onto the wreath. Here it is, which is with the bow added. It looks so cute like that. I love this pattern on it. Next, we're gonna add an embellishment. I'm gonna add these dainty little yellow flowers. I got these at Hobby Lobby. I love these. They have them in so many colors and they just work perfect for so many wreaths. So I'm just gonna cut off some of the stem here, and then these are long pieces and I don't want to put too many in one spot. So I'm gonna put some cute. Actually, I might stuff it down more. I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I might add some in the center. I'm not sure yet. But you're gonna want to use hot glue, and then just be mindful that these can slip off the top if you cut it. So I do add some glue right there on the tip so it doesn't slip in or slip out.